Hello, hi there. Good evening. It's River here, joining you from Brighton, on the south coast of the UK, where it's been a bit of a cool and rather damp day. It's nice to see that I've got a few people joining me already. If you would like to tell me who you are and where you're joining me from, it's nice to be able to say hello. Hello, Ferdiad. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Whereabouts are you? Yes, as people are joining and signing in, I'll just tell you, for any of you who don't know me, haven't met me before, a little bit about me. So my name's River. I'm a celebrant, and I'm also Director of Studies at the School of Celebrancy, which is under the wings of OBOD, the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. Hi, Ferdiad's in London. Hi, Julie in Shaftesbury. Hi, Hannah in South Wales. Hi, Matt in Northumberland. Hello, Linda. Hi, nice to see you joining us from Ayrshire. Linda was last month's guest, and if you missed that broadcast, highly recommend catching up on the replay. So yes, this is my first live broadcast for School of Celebrancy without a guest. I didn't have one lined up for this month for various reasons, and rather than cancel, I thought I would just jump in and fly solo for the first time. And I thought, well, I have been a celebrant for some while now. I started in 1999. So yeah, I've literally done hundreds and hundreds of ceremonies now, served thousands of people with ceremonies for weddings, hand fastings, vow renewals, baby namings, and child welcomings and namings as well, adoption ceremonies, of course, many funerals and memorials. So I haven't got a great agenda this evening, a lengthy agenda. I've seen one question that was posted before I came on air. Hi, Jenna from Wookie Hole. I hope Jenna's new to the course. I hope, Jenna, you got a message from me earlier today. So, is there anything that any of you here would like to ask me about, any questions at all about celebrancy? And while, hi, Simone from Lewis. Whilst you've got time to think about your questions and post them in the chat if you'd like to, I will just start with the one question that came in before I joined the broadcast, and I'm struggling to remember who it was now because I didn't write it down. May have been Hannah. But the question was about rites of passage for coming of age ceremonies, and the question was, have I done those kind of ceremonies, and how would I do them? And so the first thing I would say about that is that it has been the topic of one of these broadcasts. So there is actually a chat that you can catch up with, Hannah, if you want to know more about this subject, where I spoke with Jonathan Woody, Dr. Jonathan Woody, to give him his full title, who has been involved a lot in and written about in his doctorate coming of age ceremonies for OBOD camps. But yeah, I've done a couple of those kinds of ceremonies. Well, more than a couple. I've done one for a single person for it was a croning ceremony, a sort of post-menopausal ceremony, I suppose. And yeah, that was a sort of very beautiful and intimate ceremony. And there were just three of us, and it involved, yeah, I think all of the coming of age ceremonies that I've done have all involved a kind of challenge aspect, which is one of the things that Jonathan spoke about. So, the idea that the people who the ceremony is for um, need to kind of answer some challenging questions, or in some cases, maybe actually kind of fulfill a kind of challenging quest as well. Um, um, and then, yeah, I think they're quite emotive ceremonies in many ways, because of course they're about entering a certain phase of life. They're also about leaving a certain phase of life behind as well. Anyway, I'm not going to go into too much detail about those now, because, as I say, there's a whole chat that you can catch up on where we talk about that in more depth. So I'm going to pick up with some of the questions coming in. So Ferdiad had asked, in what ways do I think celebrancy is similar and distinct from running ritual and ceremonies for a grove or a seed group? Okay, so I think for me, the main difference would be that when you run rituals and ceremonies for a grove or a seed group, that's within the Druidry, the Obod community. And so you're running ceremonies for a group of people that all share a similar kind of outlook. Everybody who comes to those ceremonies is following or interested in Druidry and nature-inspired spirituality. Whereas the kind of celebrancy that I do, which is celebrancy for, I say, the general public, if you like, that and also by its very nature that we're doing ceremonies for those rites of passage like births, marriages, and deaths. By their very nature, those ceremonies kind of draw in people from all kinds of different backgrounds and outlooks, because your family and friends and the people that know you, the people you imagine who might turn up at one of those sort of ceremonies for you, they're going to be quite a variety of different people. So that's one big difference. So for me, I feel it's very, and also this is reflected in the kind of training as well in School of Celebrancy. I think it's very important. Those rituals for those core key moments in life are very, very important for individuals, for families, and it's very important that everyone feels welcome and included and empowered and understands what's happening at every stage of the ceremony. And yeah, that's another difference as well. I suppose that in the kind of celebrancy that I do, there's always clients that you're working with and for. So whereas with a ritual for a seed group or a grove, there'll be a group of people, and hopefully you, again, this is something that there's been a discussion about with Dave the Bard here, and talked with Dave and Kerry about the rituals that they do with their very long running Anderita Grove. Yeah, they very much talked about how they involve and empower their Grove members to take part in the ceremonies that they deliver there. But yeah, it's very different when you've got this kind of, I suppose, a sort of client and professional relationship. If you as a celebrant are creating a ceremony especially for a couple perhaps who are preparing for a commitment, or especially for a family or individual, or people that have been freshly bereaved. So those are the ways that it's distinct from. The ways that it would be similar to, um, I guess, would just be, so the core skills, I suppose, of holding ceremony, which are about holding space, um, having a very kind of clear plan, and outline, having a very clear aim and intent with your ceremony, and making sure that every part of your ceremony is serving that core intent, having a real strong sense of the sort of dynamics of ceremony. And as I've already mentioned, the idea that, you want to involve people in the ceremony as well and empower people to participate in different ways. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Ferdiad. And do please tell me if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. And someone is asking, did I always know that celebrancy was my vocation, or did it happen gradually through my own experiences? I didn't always know, no. It it happened more suddenly than gradually, actually, Simon. Um, I guess, when I look back on it, it feels like it had always been my vocation and that I was always heading towards it, with the benefit of hindsight. But as I was moving towards it, I didn't know that's what I was moving towards. I always had a fascination with ceremony and ritual. Uh, Grew up, like many of us in the UK, in the in with the Church of England, actually, in my case, being taken to Sunday school as a young child, experiencing different um, types of Christianity as I was growing up, and then exploring other paths as a young adult, um, uh, finding out a little bit about Buddhism, um, yes, and reading up on ceremonies in different traditions and different cultures, and just being really fascinated and really drawn to that, and then really gravitating, just sort of finding my home, in a nature-inspired spirituality. As soon as I kind of discovered that there were other people that were um, into the same sorts of things that I'd always kind of been naturally into since being a child, really, then it felt like a real homecoming for me to discover, Druidry and related paths. And I was then involved in doing ceremonies with a women's group for celebrating the full moons together. And our moon group that I was in at the time, in the late 90s, decided to run some open rituals for the cross-quarter festivals. So for Beltane, Lughnasadh, Samhain and Imbolc, and we hosted a Beltane ceremony on the side of Ditchling Beacon, on one of those, across the South Downs. There are several of these kind of levelled out spaces on the side of hills, including the one that the Anderida Grove use, underneath the Long Man of Wilmington. And those places just really sort of feel like they've been created for ceremony. They are the right size for a goodly group of people to gather in a circle, and they have amazing views across the landscape. And this place on the side of Ditchling Beacon is one of those places, and we held a Beltane celebration there. And after our ceremony, I was approached by a young couple who asked me if I would do a hand fasting ceremony for them. I'm sorry, by the way, if you can hear noisy things in the background in my house. There are people getting excited about football downstairs. But yes, I was asked to do a hand fasting. That was back in 1999. Didn't even know what hand fasting was. I had to find out about it. And was quite bowled over to be asked, and really learned on the hoof, just this following my intuition, really, I suppose, to just find out from this couple, what they really wanted, and to work out, how I could serve that. Um, and it was just the most amazing experience. And what I always recall from it is the sort of light bulb moment that happened when the last morning, as I was preparing for the ceremony that afternoon, I realised that I was getting a bit sort of anxious about it, and it suddenly dawned on me, no, the couple might be anxious, the person making the cake might be anxious, the people who are preparing the space, might be kind of flaps and flurries of activity going on. But my role now, we've got all the ceremony prepared, is to be a real still anchor point for this ceremony. And just the awareness of what was needed somehow gave me the ability to just, what I call, put myself out of the way and just be in that space, calling in my support, knowing that I was held by something greater than myself to hold that ceremony. And I just absolutely loved doing that work. And I realised from then that that was what I was moving towards. So yeah, that's how it happened, Simon. I'm going to move on to Julie. I think that's Julie at Soulshine Ceremonies, who's interested in doing the Celebrating Earth course. Okay, Celebrating Earth. Sorry, Julie, I didn't get back to you. There's been a bit of a question mark hanging over that course, and I'll tell you why. It was because when I first conceived of doing the Celebrating Earth course, the idea of it really was for School of Celebrancy to reach out to the wider celebrant community. Having developed courses about celebrancy for druids and assorted pagan and tree hugger types, us sort of nature-inspired spirituality people, my idea with the Celebrating Earth was to sort of share that nature-inspired spirituality, with the celebrant community. And it turns out that the people that signed up for the course weren't quite those people that I'd imagined, who kind of were new to all this. So yeah, I've kind of need to have been in a process of sort of slowly reviewing, exactly what that course is and who it's for. And it may be revived, but what I'm working on at the moment is a course called Tying the Knot, which is specifically about hand fastings. Um, and yeah, so that's sort of, I guess, work with that same aim as being, sharing some of the um, some of what we can bring from these nature-inspired spiritual paths. What that brings to how we can bring that to the work of celebrancy, because the Tying the Knot course is very much about how to conduct hand fastings in a sort of magical way, drawing on the inspiration of nature. So yes, thanks for the question, Julie, and sorry that I didn't get back to you personally before. I'm going to pick up a question from David Jones now. David's said, watched a wedding ceremony from Ireland over the weekend. It was conducted in a Celtic way. It was beautiful. And someone commented later that only a small number of celebrants are approved to conduct Celtic weddings in Ireland. Can any celebrant conduct ceremonies in a Celtic way, or do celebrants have to have a special training in Druidism to conduct Celtic ceremonies officially? Okay, so David, what I'm assuming you mean by this question is legal ceremonies. So the short answer to you know, if we put aside the legal issues to who can any celebrant conduct ceremonies in a Celtic way, is yes, any celebrant can conduct a non-legal ceremony in whatever way they choose, whatever ways they're able to, whatever ways they have studied for. And I guess, you know, what would define it as being a Celtic inspired ceremony? No, that's sort of quite a broad question in itself. But yeah, if in order to conduct a legal ceremony, sorry, I'm not 100% clear on the position in Ireland. I know the position very well in England and Wales, where I work in England, and the law is the same across England and Wales, and that is that only registrars and priests of the Church of England can conduct a legally binding wedding ceremony. So we as celebrants, we conduct a ceremony that sort of is separate from the legal process. So most people who choose to have a celebrant-led wedding in England and Wales do so because they want to have a fully bespoke ceremony. They want complete freedom of choice about where they can have their ceremony. They don't want to be tied down to the limited choice of legal venues. They might want to get married in their garden or on a beach or in a stone circle, or, you know, wherever it is that they want to get married, beautiful woodland. And they want a ceremony that is fully personalised and reflects their own beliefs. Ireland, I think, is broadly similar to Scotland, and in Scotland, it's certainly the case that people can become legally approved celebrants if they belong to if they're approved as celebrants by a body, a religious body to whom they belong. We, as the Order of Bards, Ovates, and Druids, don't give that kind of legal approval to celebrants, but the Pagan Federation of Scotland does, and perhaps there is a similar organisation or body that approves celebrants in Ireland. Yeah, so yeah, it's a complex question. This question of, you know, legal, you know, who can conduct a legal marriage. Of course, it only applies to marriage, because none of the other ceremonies, if you think about funerals, vow renewals, namings, none of those have ever traditionally been linked to the legal process. In all of those cases, you register a birth, you know, you register a death, and then how you do the ceremonial, how you mark those occasions ceremonially, is very much up to you. So I'm going to come on to Hannah. What type of personality traits make for a good celebrant? I imagine confidence is a good quality to have. Yes, Hannah, but there are many, many different personality types in the celebrant world. I guess the one kind of factor that we all need to have in common is that we all need to be in that kind of weird minority of people who aren't fazed by standing up and speaking publicly in front of a group of people. Apparently, in some polls, when people are asked about their biggest fear, the fear of public speaking comes out ahead of the fear of death. Now, I don't think that's because people are asked, what are you more scared of, death or public speaking? It's just when people are asked, you know, what's your biggest fear, that more people say public speaking than those who say death. But yeah, I think it's very important to have a very kind of well-rounded personality to be a celebrant. And what this question reminds me of, actually, is a diagram that is part of the kind of course materials. I think it pops up in both the Serving the Living and the Dead course and the Celebrating Earth course. Celebrating Life course. And it actually came out of the first kind of pilot course for Serving the Living and the Dead. And what we did was we took the four the four quarters, the directions and the elements, and we thought about what qualities of celebrancy related to each of those four directions. So think about the East and air. Well, it's important to be a good communicator. It's important to listen well. And it's important to be able to speak and to write, and to be aware of kind of inspiration. If you think about the South and fire, well, it's important for celebrants to have a passion for this work, and to bring energy and enthusiasm, and bring it's in the word celebrant, isn't it? Bring that joy and celebration to a ceremony, no matter what occasion it's for. It also, I think of the South and the fire being about, um, connecting with the community, and, really sort of bringing people together with a sense of community as well. If you think about the West and the water, well, that's the emotional work of celebrancy, which is, of course, especially relevant for the work of funeral celebrancy, being able to kind of meet people wherever they're at on their emotional journey, and, hold space for the emotions that come up in the ceremonial space. To be, I guess, thinking about like the depth of ceremony, the depth of um, spiritual connection, um, uh, the yeah, just I guess, whenever we get into the West and the water, I kind of, words sometimes fail me, because it is about the part that's beyond words, and really, bringing those kind of skills and traits to the table. And then if we think about the Earth and the North, well, it's very important as a celebrant to be down to earth, to be well organized, to be disciplined, to be well prepared, um, and to kind of tick all the kind of practical boxes, and be kind of quite methodical in how we work as well. So yeah, I think it's very important to be sensitive, to be kind. Um, Sometimes I feel like that the work of celebrancy is about having, it's a way of working with unconditional love as well. And I often talk in the courses about, the two different transactions that go on, for us as professional celebrants, which is that on the one hand, we perform a professional job for which we're paid a professional fee, and on the other hand, we're being given an incredible privilege, of holding some of the most important moments, holding and witnessing some of the most important moments in people's lives. And for that, we pay, by bringing everything that we have to those moments. So that's my answer to you, Hannah. And I'm now going to come on. Well, please do feel free to kind of come back if I didn't cover anything in your question, by the way. But I'm now going to come on to Julie's second question, which is, did I go on any training courses, or am I self-taught and experienced? Yes to both of those. I went on. I started off, as I told you, being self-taught, I guess, self-taught stroke, taught by the people that I was creating ceremonies with and for, and just sort of learning by, um, following my heart, and bringing, I guess, other skills from other work that I have done, as a facilitator of creative writing groups, and as a um, organizer of adult education programs in a kind of university and community setting, and various kind of community outreachy kind of work. So I had skills to bring from those paths, and I brought all that to, the first um, wave of ceremonies that I did between 1999 and 2012, during which time I was working, in that university community engagement field, and doing some ceremonies for people as and when I was asked, on the side, as it were. And then in 2012, I did some training with an organisation called the Fellowship of Professional Celebrants, and yeah, in particular, the funeral celebrancy training was really excellent, and the person running it, I just felt really on a lot of things. She was coming from exactly the right place, in my view, that she was really at the heart of the training I did was the idea that we as celebrants are serving, so this idea of celebrancy as service, and really kind of meeting the needs of those families that we work with at the time of their bereavement, in this case, the funeral course. But yeah, it was really useful, sort of practical training as well. And yeah, I did ask the blessing of the person that trained me in the Fellowship of Professional Celebrants before going on to set up School of Celebrancy together with Philip Cargom and others. And yeah, so the training courses that we offer in School of Celebrancy um, also aim to kind of cover all those kind of practical aspects of celebrancy work. So I wonder if there are any other questions that anybody has before I bring the... Oh, yes, thank you. Do I think celebrants tend to be more emotionally invested into the ceremony they do because it's so much more personal to the people celebrating? When I think of marriage vows in church, it's very much reading from the script. Well, to be honest with you, Hannah, I think that there are celebrants who aren't attached to any religion that also do sort of cookie cutter ceremonies. I think there are those celebrants out there who have their kind of standard format for weddings, and maybe to sort of work with a script that they just kind of change the names and put a little bit of personalization around. um and conversely, I think there are people that, there were some really amazing and excellent priests of in and people in many different religious paths that are really passionate about the work of celebrancy and do understand, how it, precious those moments are, and do go out of their way um, to make each ceremony, that as personal as it can be and the best that it could be, and perhaps do also go out of their way to make sure that people that don't share um, their path are welcomed in, and that things are explained. So I don't think it's necessarily that, independent celebrants have a kind of monopoly on doing it the best way, but I think, I like to think that most people who are drawn to this work are drawn to it for the right reasons. Um, and yeah, I wouldn't really encourage anyone to do it unless they really feel passionate about it and want to give their all to it, because those moments are so very, very important in people's lives. It that they happen once only, don't they? Certainly a funeral happens once only, so we really, whatever the circumstances, it needs to be done as well as it possibly can be. Um, and I think that kind of leads me on to um, what I had in mind for closing this session actually. Um, so usually these School of Celebrancy live broadcasts, um, we usually finish with a kind of, either a reading or a little kind of meditation. I'll just read David's comment before I go on to that. Oh yes, I love to hear that, David. The celebrant was very creative, called the elements and beings of nature, even the universe, and was funny, personable, and very down to earth. Yeah, I think funny, personable, and down to earth are all excellent qualities for a celebrant to have as well. I think all of the best ceremonies have tears and laughter, whatever occasion they're for. Um, I wanted to bring this session to an end with a little kind of vision sharing, I suppose. Because I was just reflecting as I was preparing for this evening, just on the vision that informs my celebrancy, and certainly the vision that really kind of drives um, School of Celebrancy, and that inspired me to do these broadcasts really. So yeah, I'd like to invite you wherever you are, if you'd like to just join me in a little moment of visualization. Um, so, can I invite you perhaps to get yourself a bit comfortable, as comfortable as you can, wherever you are. If you're sitting in a chair, it might be nice to have your feet on the ground, um, and just make sure, perhaps adjust your cushions and just get yourself as comfortable as you can. And if you feel comfortable to, close your eyes and let's take 3 breaths together. Let's just be conscious of the gravity of the earth holding our bodies in place. Just feeling through your feet to the floor of the building you're in, being conscious of the foundations of that building, down into the earth, into the layers of rock and soil and stone. And let's all take a breath with the earth beneath us. And reaching out with your imagination out through the crown of your head, up above the roof of the building you're in, visualizing the sky above you, whatever time of day or night it is, whatever the weather is in your part of the world. And let's take a breath with the sky above us. And then just reaching out again with your imagination to the world, the landscape around you, and being conscious of the bodies of water nearby. Are there streams or rivers or underground aquifers running towards the sea? Reaching out with your imagination to those oceans surrounding whatever land you're on, those oceans that link all places and all times on this earth. And let's take a breath with the oceans of the world. And now let's reach out with our imagination into the past, into the far, far distant past, to the times when people first gathered together in communities, into the times when our earliest ancestors began to develop their ways of celebrating the most important moments in their lives in every part of the world, creating ceremonies to bring people together, to honour each new life, to honour each life that ended, to honour the coming together of individuals, of families, to honour and mark the passing of the seasons, the sowing of seed, the gathering of harvest. And from those early beginnings of ceremony, we reach towards those ancestors of our path, and we too want to honour these moments. We too want to bring people together, to hold those moments with power, with magic, with warmth, with love, to bring people together in connection with one another and in connection with the world around us, to be in community not just with one another but with the greater than human world. To create ceremonies that connect deeply with the spirit of place, with the spirit of time, with the spirit of tribe, with the spirit of journey, the spirit of the ancestors. Just as our distant ancestors did, to create the ceremonies that are needed at this time, and to hand on a renewed and refreshed and revitalized ceremonial tradition to those who'll come after us. So I thank you all for being with me in this moment, and I thank all of our sources of inspiration and blessings and guidance as we do this work. And I ask for blessings on this vision of the celebrancy that we most need at this time. And I'd like to finish with the Celtic blessing. Deep peace of the running wave to you. Deep peace of the flowing air to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the shining stars to you. Deep peace on your path, in your work, and radiating through every ceremony you conduct. And if you'd like to just come back by wriggling your fingers and toes and perhaps rubbing your hands together to create a little bit of warmth and giving your face a little bit of a massage. And let's rejoin one another in the, gently coming back, maybe having a little peep at the screen through your fingers before you come all the way back. Yes, thank you everyone for joining me. And yes, Michelle, there will be a recording of this video posted on the YouTube and on the School of Celebrancy page. So yes, you will be able to catch up afterwards. And also feel free to post more questions afterwards as well, and I will either respond or maybe I'll do another one of these. Maybe I might make this a regular thing. Ask me anything about celebrancy. And I will be sending out a newsletter in the next few weeks with news about the new Tying the Knot course as well. Lovely to see some of you who are regulars or students on the courses, and lovely to meet all of you who've come for the first time. And wish you all a lovely rest of your evening or day wherever you are. Bright blessings to all of you. Thank you for joining me.